Morning, Sanbonani. Hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Monday edition of Vuka Nazo. My apologies for it being rather late in the morning, and indeed the times are haphazard. Again, sincere apologies for that. It is just the gremlins in the system. But that being said, good morning, welcome to it. This is Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show here on the Big Daddy Liberty Show. My name is Usihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. And remember, if you love the show, you love how we start your morning news, well, how about you take a visit to our friends today at 1:30? They come to you daily, Mondays to Thursday, live at 1:30. That's our friends at the Daily Friend. There you go. You can see them there on the screen at dailyfriend.co.za. Now, with that being said, a big welcome to you on this show. Remember, if you're watching this simulcast on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, do me a solid favor. Whether you're watching it live or later on as a recording, hit that like button, will you? Do me a solid favor and hit that like button. It helps spread the show to a much wider audience. Speaking about the platform you're watching this on, if you're watching on YouTube in particular, do me an even bigger favor. Help me reach 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year by hitting that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. It'd be greatly appreciated. Let us march our way towards 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's a tall ask, I know, but hopefully we can achieve it. And remember, if you like the show and any of our other shows, whether it's Liberty and Friends or the Big Daddy Liberty Show or Vuka Nazo, you can find all of that and more on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. That's bigdaddyliberty.com. There, of course, you can also support the channel financially with a contribution of between 50 and 100 Rand a month. Find us, of course, on our website. Now, with that being said, enough with that jibber jabber. How about we get straight into the very interesting news? All right, folks, it's an interesting morning stemming from what was a rather interesting last evening. If you were tuned in, of course, last night on the show as we had that episode of Liberty and Friends, there it is, a quick reminder of the thumbnail where we had the conversation. And I put it to you as the viewers that black and white racists are exactly the same. I do not view them with any form of difference. This country may have a racism problem, but racism isn't the problem. And I said to you, come onto the show and change my mind. I called all my detractors, all the people who usually say all sorts of nonsense to me on social media, especially from behind alias accounts. I said to you, bring that smoke, bring the smoke, bring the heat. I want to have that debate, change my mind. And well, predictably, the cowards didn't appear. I said it yesterday and I'll repeat it this morning. If you want to know the true face of a coward, the true face of the coward is the back of their head as they run from the battle. That indeed is exactly what characterizes my detractors, who will say all sorts of things on social media, but don't come onto the show when I give them that opportunity. Make sure you catch that last night's episode of Liberty and Friends so you can see exactly what I spoke about in that regard. And indeed, the story that catalyzed yesterday's conversation was one of a Belinda Magor, who you'll know the latest on that particular story, that woman, that racist woman, has been arrested. And I say this because she's currently out on a warning. Let me just fix this particular graphic. The latest on this, of course. You remember Magor, of course, is the lady, there she is on the screen there, who went on that weird racist rant related to pit bulls in this country, saying all sorts of, kill black folk and rape because they rape and kill and steal and yada, yada, yada. The women should be castrated. This is the sort of rhetoric that if you're really listening to that particular voice note, would have been comfortably at home with something that a Julius Malema, for example, has said, or even a Andile Ntlhama. Indeed, they are in the same WhatsApp group. And indeed, that's what pissed off a lot of people on social media when I made that correct comparison, that this country often sees individuals who, when they're angry with a given issue, That is, if they're angry about some issue or another, they have no problem. If they're racist individuals, they have no problem proceeding to pin it on a certain race group and then making all sorts of threats around, oh, they'll kill this race grouping or castrate this. I mean, consider, for instance, a one Andy Limputama who once boldly said that, they should kill white South Africans and even kill their babies. Yeah, that's right. That's what the likes of the leader of the Black Land First Party had once said. And of course, a lot of black racists, their favorite is the one Julius Malema, and that's who has been frothing at the mouth at me on social media. Their favorite, Malema, also a reprehensible, abhorrent character who is in the same WhatsApp group as Belinda Magor, who said, for instance, things like he's here to cut the throat of whiteness, as he was referring to Athol Trollope. More recently, in the Western Cape, you'll remember Malema once said that, a revolutionary should not be afraid to kill, quote, in reference, of course, to white South Africans who live in Brackenfell, who he says, he would have never allowed to assault him as the revolutionary leader of the EFF. This is the sort of nonsense we put up with in this country, but the expectation by many a black racist or a white racist is that we should ignore their camp's version of racism because of one issue or the other. You'll often hear black racists, the blavity black types that are often referred to, say things like, oh no, we should ignore the racism coming from black people. And why? Because black people have been the victims of racism, apartheid, and colonialism 400 years, blah, 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 blah. That's the asinine thinking they'll come up with. Or the other argument you'll often hear, which is a trendy lefty construct, a very sort of critical race theory type construct, which is, oh no, black people can't be racist, they'll say. And why? Because black people don't possess power. Another asinine argument you'll often hear being used. And I often say to people, if you accept those arguments as made by blavity black type individuals, then surely you should accept the arguments made by racist whites. If they were to use those same arguments and say, well, you shouldn't really hold racist whites to account because, well, they live in a country that subjugates them racially because of BEE and affirmative action and blah, blah, blah. If they made that argument, then surely you should accept that nonsense too. This is what happens when you hold a mirror up to both black and white racists. They get very angry. They get very angry because how dare you call them out? How dare you call out their favorites in particular? Anyway, as I said, we had that conversation yesterday. So make sure you check it out on the Big Daddy Liberty channel, Liberty and Friends, the Sunday show, where I made the case. I said, change my mind. And change my mind from what? Where I made the statement that black and white racists are exactly the same. Change my mind. With that being said, Belinda Magor, as I mentioned, that chick's in a lot of trouble right now. As I said, latest was she had been arrested and was set to appear, this article of Independence mentioned that she's only set to appear in court next year, facing charges, of course, as according to the national spokesperson for police, Brenda, Muridili, confirming firstly the arrest and then quoted as saying she faces a case of crimen injuria, which was opened on November the 25th at Boksburg North and later transferred to Pitfontein Police Station for investigation, end of quote. That's what Belinda's going through. And yeah, hopefully she fries, because I really couldn't give a flying fudge about both black and white racists. And that's the line for me. That's the principle for me, is that I don't make excuses for black racists and I do not make excuses for white racists. No matter how much you guys project, oh, you love defending whites or you love defending Zulus and blacks, blah, blah, blah. Hey, both of you are equally the same in my front. Both black and white racists, they can kick rocks. Because if you're talking about white racists, then you'll have Tubby over here as a prime example, where, again, there's the expectation that some forms of racism are less terrible than others. Or you'll have these black racists who've said things like this. Yes, the EFF. You see, they love the fact that South Africans have a goldfish memory, and South Africans often forget the true character of individuals. This is an EFF poster that was put up at the beginning of basically the formation of the EFF. And that set the tone for me for who these people really are. So no, I will not forget, and no, I will not excuse either black or white racists. Y'all are basically the same damn thing. All right, I move us on now, and I take us to the Northwest, where one Cyril Ramaphosa was basically in the community of, was it Liechtenstein? Hang on, I'll put the graphic up in a moment, where, again, politicians and making false promises. I mean, here's a president of the ANC, I think it's on screen, yeah, there it is. Lichtenberg. President Ramaphosa boldly saying unqualified people will no longer run municipalities. This, of course, was Ramaphosa speaking rather in Lichtenberg in the Northwest. This was part of this ongoing campaign of his. I think it's called the Litsima campaign, which is just his outreach campaign. Here's the kicker. Here's the part, the leader of the same party that brought you cadre deployment, a policy by the ANC designed to put in friends, cronies, and cadres into key positions of government and institutions of society. Cadre deployment, regardless of whether those individuals have the skills or not. People were chosen on the basis of party loyalty as opposed to skill. That individual of that party, of that track record, is now promising, oh no, he says, municipalities that will be run by skilled people. Bullcrap. Where he goes on to say here, speaking, of course, to the crowd in Lichtenberg, Ramaphosa said he does not want to see another situation like in the Ditsoboka local municipality in the Northwest, which at some point had its council dissolved by Parliament after numerous instances of non-compliance. This, of course, this article I'm reading from is EWN. At one point, the ANC government municipality had 2 mayors, 2 speakers, and 2 council whips due to the infighting within the party. Ramaphosa said the municipality should serve as a warning to other poorly performing municipalities in the country, where he's quoted as saying, we're going to be professionalizing the civil service so that we get people who are fit for purpose, not Mickey Mouse people who will serve in the municipality, but people with real skills. End of quote. Yeah, if you believe that, I have a bridge in London that I can sell you. In fact, I have a whole Zulu kingdom that I can sell you if you believe that kind of nonsense. Here's the thing. If you are going to continue believing the ANC can somehow change from within, somehow it can reform itself and deliver and suddenly do well, then you deserve everything that is coming to you. You deserve every bit of poor service delivery. You deserve every bit of corruption, every bit of the infighting. You can go down the line insofar as the things that you deserve. Because it is the stubborn insistence of some South Africans who continue to cling to the ANC that basically see South Africans not enjoying nice things. Yeah, pretty much. So it's quite simple. You vote these people out. You vote someone in who you actually begin to, on the one hand, but look to, holding them to higher standards, to a higher account. When someone says to you, I will build X, Y, Z, do X, Y, Z, then that individual, you've got to begin to hold them to a higher account. Enough with this bad track that we have as South Africans, and really as Africans in general, of voting in clowns, people who've built nothing, people who do not know how to build anything, people who see their only reason for existence, whether as leaders of society or as ordinary citizens, as being consumers of stuff, rapacious consumers. The day we stop voting in people like that, and we vote in people who are serious about building this country and building this economy, that will be the day that South Africa begins to really not only enjoy nice things, but elevate the income level of all South Africans and indeed see this country becoming a free, prosperous, non-racial and property-owning society. That's my dream. What's yours? All right, folks, we're nearing the end of the show. And as I prepare this last graphic, I prepare it with a sense of just disgust. You know, we've covered crime on this channel quite a few times, and I'll revisit this issue right now where, you know, just a few weeks ago, I spoke about how a mosque in Johannesburg had been held up by armed robbers. And I said to you, nothing is sacred anymore in this country. Nothing is seen with reverence. Nothing is seen by criminals, for example, as being hands off when it comes to that. No. We now live in a country where not only are mosques, that's where Muslim individuals pray, are being held up and robbed, but it's now even transferred itself to the next religion, where Christian churches are being robbed. Over the weekend, a Seventh-day Adventist church in Johannesburg being held up. Let me just get that graphic on the screen. There it is. Armed gang walks into a Johannesburg church and robs the congregants. This, of course, is a News 24 piece where armed suspects, again, as I said, stormed into this building. Police spokesperson Vuka Nazo said the suspects walked into the church in the CBD at midday and demanded the personal items from the congregants. There's a video online of this particular incident, but nonetheless, I chose not to play it. There's nothing graphic on it, but just for time's sake. They proceeded to threaten the churchgoers with firearms. No one, thank God, was injured, and there are no arrests yet. The suspects later walked out of the church. No doubt, that's a bit of a redundant thing to say. Of course they walked in, they walked out. But nonetheless, the case of business robbery has been opened, end of quote. Again, I'll say this once and I'll say it again. Until we begin to meet criminals in this country, that is, let me rephrase, criminals in this country are after our life, our liberty, and property rights. I've always said this. And until you and me, ordinary South Africans, become defense-mindseted or have a defensive mindset where we are willing to meet criminals in this country, violent, evil, murderous criminals, the day we make sure that anytime they try to rob us, rape us, kill us, or the like, that they are met with an overwhelming response of violence from us as defense-mindseted South Africans. The day that becomes the case, that'll be the day we begin to really end crime. Often, criminals in this country attack us, rape us, loot us, kill us, and rob us because, to be honest, we're sheep. Much to their wolvish ways, we are sheep. And we're sheep, unfortunately, who are depending on a shepherd who just simply isn't there. The police as a shepherd is simply not there. They themselves are led by an asshat of a police minister, useless character, by the way of Vuka, and worse yet, their management as police, try as hard as they may be, as ordinary police members, but the management of those ordinary police members are simply inept individuals. Simply guys who cannot shape up, organize a 21st century, visible, efficient, and effective police force. So that shepherd simply isn't there, which leaves it, of course, if I continue with my analogy, up to us, the sheep, to organize ourselves, to get licensed, to get training, to keep training, and to literally band together with other defense mindset-orientated people in our communities as families to defend ourselves, so that any criminal who tries to affect the life, liberty, or property rights of an ordinary South African will find themselves facing an overwhelming amount of violence being directed at them. Violence, of course, that is in defense of ourselves. I'm not saying we should go out and be, vigilantes and hunt criminals. That's the role of police. But ours should be our ability, our freedom, if you will, to defend our families, our lives, our liberties. That's what a sane, sober, moral, prudent society does in a democracy. Until that, we have to put up with the criminals. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of Vuka Nazo. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, apologies for the late start this morning and just the haphazard nature of the show. Do me a favor, hit that like button as you exit the stream. It costs you nothing, guys. Hit that like button right now. And remember, you can find us on our website at BigDaddyLiberty.com. There, of course, you can see shows that you've missed or even support the channel. Interesting stuff coming soon on the website, including merch and the like. So with that being said, a reminder to you, please, to find us on our website. With that being said, thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, bright and early, as you do weekdays on Vuka Nazo.